Hey gang, we are in a small town here today, beautiful small town in Indiana called Martinsville, and we're actually here today to visit the grave a man who has, well, put a song out that gives us some Christmas cheer to this day. Very popular. I want to thank one of our viewers and subscribers, Speedcraw. That's AKA Speedcraw. His name's Bob. And great story here. We're going to see the grave of Bobby Helms, and you will recognize his music. And we're here at the cemetery, a cemetery called Hilldale. A very small cemetery here, and we're in. All right, let's talk about Bobby Helms. Great singer that he was. How did he get his start? Well, let's start by telling the story here. He was born in 1933 here in Indiana. He was not born in this town. He was born in Bloomington. Came from a musical family, and he was himself somewhat of a prodigy, it is said. And you'd have to believe that, because when he was only 9 years old, he was already working at 2 radio stations. Now, he wasn't singing songs and hit records yet, but he's at 2 radio, and the radio stations, that's where you had to go back then. If you were up and coming, you wanted to be something in country music, or music everywhere, it was all about the radio stations. So, at 12 years old, he really started his career with his brother, Freddie, who played the guitar. And those two would go off together, and they would play all over the place. They would tour here in the southern Indiana area. And then they had an opportunity to play on this show. It was called the Hayloft Frolic. He was 12 years old at that time. And that's when he really started to make a name for himself. But really, it was in 1956, when he was about 23 years old, that he was invited to go to the Ernest Tubb record shop. Pretty famous place, gang. Now, if any of you are into country music, and I love country music, I'm a Waylon Jennings fan. But listen, that place, the Ernest Tubb record shop, was it. It was where to be. And Ernest Tubb is legend. He's one of the pillars of country music. That guy did some unbelievable things, helped a lot of people. But this was the place to be, and it wasn't like a record store. I mean, it was, but people would come far and wide to perform there. And when I say up and coming, you already had records, and you were up and coming. So wasn't just like a shot in the dark, and you come to the Ernest Tubb record shop, and guys would drive for hundreds of miles, and they would exchange letters with him, and they'd say, "Yeah, come." I mean, one story, I forget what his name was, came and they wouldn't let him in, and then Ernest Tubb heard him. "Oh yeah, I remember. I said you could come. What are you gonna do?" "Well, I'm gonna do my record." "Okay. Oh yeah, I remember that record. That was pretty good. Okay, let's get that gig going tonight on stage." It was a really neat place. I think it's still there today. And I will tell you, Ernest Tubb was not only a legend in country music, but he was a hell of a man. He helped many of the country music stars in the 50s and the 60s that we know today. He's a big reason they got their start, and many of them did credit him. And he also, I mean, I'm a real fan of Ernest Tubb. I mean, Ernest Tubb he helped Bobby. I mean, that's where we're going with this. Invited him there. That's how he got his start. But I mean, he even went to Korean War with some of the guys to sing for the servicemen, like a lot of the stars did in World War II. So he's a hero of mine. But Bobby went there and he performed, and on he went. This is where he met a lot of people in country music, of course, rubbing elbows. And the Texas Troubadour, Ernest Tubb was called that, well, the Texas Troubadours, the band, he liked Bobby's singing, so he's the one who got him just this little contract on a record label called Decca. And a lot of country stars back then were on the Decca label. And he started doing shows with a few famous people. You ever hear of Patsy Cline? They were actually friends. He used to tour with her. And he used to tour with other people, a lot of famous names. The one that jumps out to me is Johnny Horton. Do you guys know Johnny Horton? North to Alaska. I'm not going to try to sing it or sink the Bismarck. Oh man, I love Johnny Horton. Now we're going to get off on all this country music, all the people I'll have to steer away. But I'll tell you one story about Johnny Horton and North to Alaska. When I took my boys to Kodiak Island and they didn't want to wake up in the morning, I would play North to Alaska on the speaker off my phone every morning, and they love that song. Now they sing it. But anyway, he got to tour with some really, legends. Legends. Buddy Holly, all of those people in those days. Now he finally broke through. He had his first successful country song, and it was called Fraulein. And it actually hit #1 on the country charts in 1957. His second #1 hit was pretty big, My Special Angel, and that was released later that year in '57 in October. But then came his Christmas release. You've all heard of Jingle Bell Rock. Can you imagine? He probably had no idea when he sang that how legendary that song would be. Well, it did. It rocketed to wild success. It was even being played on Dick Clark's American Bandstand, another show from back then. I've watched that on TV. What was that, on Sundays? And of course, he ended up traveling all over the world with that song. Same year, December 1st, 1957 would get him on the Ed Sullivan Show. I think he did 2 shows with Ed Sullivan. He was very nervous about it, but he said Ed Sullivan was such a nice guy, took him under his wing, so to speak, and helped him get through it. He did a great job. And that's where he was with the likes of Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, Jackie Wilson, Lloyd Price, Sam Cooke. I could go on and on. Bobby said they all had a wonderful time together. Imagine those memories, guys. I'll tell you a funny story about Patsy Cline that he would later recollect. His friend Patsy Cline, and of course we all know she sadly died young in a plane crash in bad weather. He traveled a lot with her. She traveled with him and the group for 3 years before she had enough money to buy her own car. When she finally hit it big time, she had that song, I Fall to Pieces. She finally bought herself a new car, and she could not wait to show it to Bobby. But when she showed it to him, he said, and this is all, again, he's recollecting this, he said she had these huge speakers. They were massive, and she'd turn them all the way up and play my song, My Special Angel, and she'd blow my eardrums out. He was laughing about it. Sadly, yeah, we all know what happened on the evening of Tuesday, March 5th, 1963. Patsy's wristwatch had stopped. Well, Bobby continued to tour and record for the next 3 decades, but that song, Jingle Bell Rock, that whole little period, My Special Angel, that special year was the peak. And he would go on and play his music for all his fans for for those decades, 3 decades. He spent his later life living here in Martinsville, and sadly he passed away in 1997 from emphysema. We will never forget that song. It's played today. I heard it yesterday at home. You know, you're just playing all the songs. And I never had any idea that that man, you know, who he was. Who's the guy behind the song? I've heard my whole life, right? It's pretty cool to come here and visit his grave. It's right up here. Well, it's just before Christmas, guys. It's Monday. Monday before Christmas. I was hoping for some snow. Well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in Chicago. It's not going to happen down here. So, came on down. Well, here it is. He's got a couple of guitars on the headstone. It's a nice stone here. Robert Bobby Lee Helms. August 15th, 1933. Passed in June 19th, 1997. Here lies a legend, Mr. Jingle Bell Rock. That's very fitting. And I look beyond and I see a stone. Of course, that's got to be for his wife, Doris. She's buried right here behind. Protected. I think this is a black walnut, as I recall. Is that a black walnut, guys? I had one in my backyard yeah, that's a black walnut. Got a black walnut tree here. I used to have one of those in the backyard. Old house. Well, I'm standing before a legend, an absolute legend, and his song will play. The song will go forever, way beyond our lifetimes, guys. His manager, Joe Kleiman, indicated that in some of Bobby's last performances on stage, he would take along an oxygen tank, but he still sang like dynamite. Yeah, it always will be remembered forever for all of his accomplishments in both country and Christmas genres. More than half a century after its release, Jingle Bell Rock continues to break records. Even in January of 2019, Jingle Bell Rock entered the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 for the first time by reaching number 8. And with this achievement, Bobby Helms broke the record for the longest wait of an artist to be within the Hot 100's top 10 spots after their first appearance on the chart a little over 60 years ago. They will always play Jingle Bell Rock. Rest in peace, Bobby Helms. We love you.
Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square in the frosty air. What a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time. gliding in the one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Mix and a mingle in the jingling feet. That's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell